All right, here we go. Napoleon, welcome back to Vlad TV.
Happy to be back, man. How's everything, brother?
Man, it's been a few years. In fact, I did your show last time.
Yeah, the last time, I interviewed you, bro. I still didn't drop it yet. You know, I'm holding in the cut.
Oh, you still had that? Okay, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I still have it.
Well, since our last interview, a lot has happened. A lot, because some years have passed. And, I mean, the biggest of which is the Keefe D situation. Now, I did the first real Keefe D interview where he laid out the whole story from his background, what led up to the incident, what happened during the incident, what happened after. And then 5 years later, Keefe gets arrested. Now, when you first saw the Keefe D interview, what did you think?
You know, we've been hearing these type of rumors in the streets. I believe he did because of his book. It was a book that he put out. So before he started doing these interviews, I kind of heard, but I never heard it out the horse's mouth. You know what I mean? So when I heard him go into details about what happened that night, and he was just openly, you know, speaking about it, that kind of took me by surprise because I don't know too much about a profit agreement, but I was just like, wow, he just, you know, and I looked at it from a standpoint of view, like it was even 20 something years later, you would think that a person would mature. You know, we did some things in our 20s I'm not going to be bragging about in my 40s and hopefully not bragging about in my 60s, you know, God willing. So I was just surprised at how he went about it, actually.
Okay, so you heard it. Based on everything that you know and everyone that you've talked to, does the story match up or there's certain parts that don't quite make sense?
You know, one of the, I wasn't there. You know, I wasn't there, but from what some of the outlaws told me, they did say that a car, you know, was creeping up, looking inside the cars before they reached Pac car, and they seen an arm come out. You know what I mean? So, and I think he even mentioned that we heard girls screaming, so we was trying to figure out what car Pac was in. So that matched up. Everything else was something I never heard before because he was explaining from as an insider. You know what I mean? But it did match up to what they was talking about, the cars pulling up and stuff like that, looking in, trying to find out which car Pac was in.
Well, yeah, because the gray area in the situation was it Orlando who shot, or was it someone else in the car, like a big Dre or maybe even a Keefe, because those were two bigger, bulkier guys. And a couple of people have said that were there that it was a bulky arm and Orlando was really skinny. So this is the gray area, and I don't know if he'll ever know because there's only one person. I think we might not
never know because everybody in that car was dead except for Keefe D. You know, so I think now everybody got to go off of his story. And he knows he was in the car, obviously. And it's one of the mysteries that, you know, sometimes you don't really know. We can assume, we can try to guess, but if the people that was there is not alive and they not speaking, then we really going to be assuming. But I guess he felt like he wanted to put that story out according to what he want people to think who shot him, you know what I mean, or who was a shooter.
Well, Suge Knight was there, and according to Keefe, the two of them locked eyes right before the shooting, so Suge would know who did it, but Suge has never said anything. Do you think at some point Suge will just come out and say it, or do you think he's going to take that to his grave?
I think from what it seemed like, Suge the type going to take it to the grave because I think he's still trying to live by the codes of, you know, the politics that goes with the hood. So I think from, you know, the person that Suge, he just seemed like he the type going to take it to the grave.
I mean, do you agree with that? Because in that whole situation, like, people really didn't cooperate.
Yes.
Edie didn't cooperate. Suge didn't cooperate. Everyone that was in the car, who's the name of the bodyguard that was right behind him?
I think Frank Alexander.
Frank Alexander.
Yes.
I'm not sure if he cooperated or not, but had everyone cooperated, they could have worked with LAPD and something could have happened right away. But instead, everyone was trying to do the whole street code thing and nobody did. I mean, when you look back at it now, do you wish that people had cooperated, or is it just is what it is?
I look at it like everything happened for a reason. It is what it is, because the mindsets back then, that was the mindset that everybody had. It comes with, you don't cooperate because you also can put yourself in harm's way. So a lot of people, even though that's a hood, you know, I don't live by that code no more because I'm not involved in anything illegal. You understand? But back then, this was our mindset. You know, this goes on in the hood because even if you cooperate, you might get hurt by one of your own homies because they looking at it like, so it's one of the situations that even if they wanted to cooperate, the code is there that they know it can backfire.
Well, Foxy Brown is tied into the story somewhat because in the book, Keefe said that they went to go get a gun and Foxy was with the guy, I guess Eric Von Zip, when they got it. But everyone I know that knows Foxy Brown are all saying that she's not going to cooperate at all.
Yeah, she's smart because I don't think I ever heard her mention anything about this. She ain't getting involved. She ain't doing no interviews. She ain't speaking it up. So, so now it's basically his word against hers, basically. You know?
Right. Well, I mean, Keefe gets arrested 5 years later. When you heard that, did it bring any level of closure to the situation?
I think it was one of them things where I said he get what came to him. You understand? It would never bring Pac back, you know, but for him to be able to, he spoke his, what came to him, he brought that to himself. You understand? So it's like you brought it to yourself. You living in a country that have laws. You understand? It's not like you're in a lawless country that you can say whatever you want. So you living in a country, you openly saying you participated in a murder and you got arrested. That comes with the territory. It would never bring Pac back. It would never change, you know, losing someone like Pac. But, you know, it's a situation where, because I believe in the next life, even if we get away with things this life, we'll face it in the next life. That's my beliefs, you know?
Well, I just interviewed Billy Garland, Tupac's biological dad.
Yes, yeah.
He said he doesn't care about Keefe D getting arrested for the murder of his son. He said that doesn't bring any closure. He doesn't care about the arrest. And in fact, he feels that Keefe and Orlando were just patsies, that it was part of a bigger story, whether it's Suge or the government or something like that. 2023, Keefe D gets arrested for the murder of Tupac Shakur. When you found out about the arrest, what did you think?
About time. It took so long.
Did it bring any sort of closure in your mind?
No, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
You just bring closure in identifying the patsies who were involved, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't really want to get into detail of what I believe.
What do you think about that?
I don't think it was part of no government. I don't even think Suge had anything to do with it. I think it is what really happened. Pac fought Orlando Anderson. He was known to be an active gang member. You know what I mean? What happens in California, West Coast, pretty much everywhere in America now, people want to retaliate. When you fight an individual, the street code, they're going to want to retaliate. You know what I mean? So I think it really was simple as that. Pac fought an individual who was known to be an active gang member in Compton. And, you know, he's not going to go back to his hood and probably just lay down and let that happen to him. You know, most of the people, especially in their early 20s, we do a lot of, you know, a lot of crazy things because of egotistics and our pride. You understand? Our pride kicked in, our ego kicked in, and especially for him, who was known, they said he was a killer. So if you say that a rapper did this to you, you know, it probably really hurt his ego where he felt like now he have to go retaliate.
Well, I know that I've talked to a few people that were close to Afeni and her sister. And they both felt, you know, Afeni before she passed and her sister at this point, from what I was told, they do not care about anyone getting arrested for the murder. And they never did. They never did. It was never, they never pursued this. They never investigated it. They never put any money into it. They just basically, because of their dealings with the police and the government, the Black Panthers and COINTELPRO, putting another black man in prison just wasn't something that they aspired to. You know, but I can tell you that I did hear from some of the family members that they did thank me through some other people about my participation.
Yeah, because you open that, man, you open the first conversation about it openly from what we know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had no intention of putting Keefe D in prison. That was not my goal. I just wanted the real story out there, and he had already written the book. And we read through the book, and I'm like, are you willing to talk about what you wrote in the book? And they were like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, well then I'll go ahead and do the interview. The book is on Amazon. It is what it is. But when he got arrested, Las Vegas PD kept calling me and texting me, trying to get my original footage, and I always just ignored them. I always felt like I'm not participating.
You a journalist? I think
I'm a journalist. I'm not participating any more than I already have. Like, I
see, yeah.
What I recorded is out there. There's really no hidden footage that I held back or nothing else like that. So they're really barking up a wrong tree anyways. But yeah, I'm like, I'm not getting on the stand. I'm not doing all this extra shit. Whatever footage is out there, if they ask me if it's real, I'll tell them it's real. But that's the end of it. You know, I'm not looking to insert myself into this trial. Whatever Keefe has going on with the state of California, or the state of Nevada, actually, is between him and Nevada. That's it.
I feel you, bro. Yeah, you doing your job as a journalist. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people come on these platforms and they just run their mouths, and then they get surprised as if they don't know that when you openly talk about breaking the law, you think only criminals watching you. The police is also watching you. I never understood that. You know, even when people get online and threaten people, and I just never understood that type of stuff.
It's clout.
Clout, yes.
It's clout. It's clout, man. And, well, you know that you could get a lot of attention very quickly by saying something negative about someone else when both parties know about the relationship. Look, if I said a whole bunch of crazy stuff about you as we're doing this interview, it would go viral.
Yeah,
right?
I know. So, you know, there's somebody, I don't even want to mention their name, they trying to do something like that now, and I'm just ignoring it. You know, I'm like, I see you trying to pull something out of me, and you don't want to talk privately, but you want to talk in comments. It shows that, you know, people don't got time for this, bro. But it's the age, I guess it's the time we living in.
Trayvon Lane, I've been talking to him over the years, and we've always talked about doing an interview, but I'm not sure if it's ever going to happen. But you actually spoke about it, where you said that Trayvon didn't tell Pac that Orlando was there. I guess Trayvon was telling someone else and Pac overheard it?
Yeah, this is from what Trey told me and what other people told me. That Trey never, because what was out there is that they made it seem like he whispered to Pac. And Pac, he whispered to his homies from his hood. Pac just happened to hear it. You know, and I guess Pac felt like he wanted to show his loyalty to people who were showing their loyalty to him. That's how I look at it, knowing Pac.
Yeah, and honestly, even if he did tell Pac, so what? Like, if I had someone, you know, like I have security, right? So if someone walks in the room who I have a problem with, I'm going to tell my security, like, yo, just be on alert. So-and-so's over there.
He probably clarified it because he's saying, I didn't tell Pac. You know what I mean? I'm sure if he probably wanted to clarify because Trey, he's intelligent. I think he knew Pac was an artist. You know, so I don't, from what I know the personality of Trey, he won't go to Pac when he got like dudes he grew up with from the same hood. So I think that's what he was trying to clarify.
Yeah, I mean, I hope at one point he does an interview. I mean, with me or someone else, because I feel like he's one of the last missing pieces of the puzzle in terms of that whole situation, because everyone has ran with their own version of the story. But yeah. Well, you said that at one point Suge was trying to sign Tupac to death row and Pac walked out.
We heard some rumors that back in the day, I think Suge even said it. He said that I tried to, you know, sign. It was an interview with Suge said I tried to sign Pac back in the day when he was with the Thug Life homies, but Pac wasn't ready. You know, he met him a few times. He just wasn't ready to sign with him. He wasn't really ready at that particular time. Even Suge mentioned something like that. That Pac wasn't, when he signed him when he was in prison, wasn't his first. The conversation had been held before, years ago, telling Pac to come to death row.
Well, yeah, I know that Pac was in the Murder Was the Case movie. Remember, he was like the sniper, I think.
The video, yes, the video, yeah.
In the music video. And I think like Pac even said Suge gave him a big old check for that, like bigger than he expected. And there was already a conversation going on, but you know, he was signed Interscope at the time.
Yes.
Directly. But then he went to prison and, I mean, from what I understand, Jimmy Iovine liked the idea of Pac going to death row. And it's all under the same umbrella anyways.
So he just figured like, let him go with, You know, I think it was Pac going to death row, it was good for his career. But his personality and Suge's personality, I think it would just, you know, because you needed to have a big brother around you to say, chill, don't do that. You know what I mean? But he was able to run, like, you know, he needed that someone to say, you know, Pac, chill. But if you come to a label and the CEO is wild like you, then that's a situation that's going to probably end the way it, unfortunately, the way it ended. You know what I mean?
Well, you said that Pac signed with Suge because he believed he was going to go to war.
I believe Pac did it as chess. You know, I believe Pac went to death row because you got to remember in the 90s, what label was more stronger than death row when it comes to music and also as a crew? You understand? And I think Pac knew that he wanted to be with someone that's going to be able to, you know, because Pac came home believe it or not, would have meant, he said it was like war for him. You know, he came home, whether he only wanted to do it musically or whatever, he he was on a mission that he wanted to get his words out. He wanted to get, what he felt happened to him out. And he felt like Suge and Death Row was the perfect team for him.
I mean, did he really want to go to war? Because, I mean, he came out and did it, but from everything I heard leading up to him going to prison and everything else like that, he didn't think that Biggie really had anything to do with the quad shoot. In fact, I'd heard, I forgot who had told me, but they said that Pac had left some of his guns in the studio with Biggie before the police came, and then afterwards he had Biggie bring him his guns, like to the hospital or something of that sort. But it was like there was still somewhat communication. In fact, hold on. Billy Garland even said that when he went to go visit Tupac for the first time, he said Biggie was there by himself. So now you walk in the room and your son is in the hospital bed.
Everybody's looking at me. Because they're like, he does look like Tupac. They were like, I didn't know Tupac had a dad.
Who else was in the room when you first walked in?
You know who came in? Biggie. Which makes me believe I know he had nothing to do with it.
No, Biggie had nothing to do with it.
Not a goddamn thing.
I've interviewed everyone around the story,
Not
from Lil C's to everyone, yeah.
And I was kind of upset that he kept promoting that even after he got out of jail.
I think even Pac, he mentioned himself in one of his videos, he was saying that he wanted answers because Biggie was saying he's the king of New York. You understand? So I guess Pac feel like he knew what happened to him. Because apparently the people that's supposed to shot him and robbed him was from Brooklyn. Biggie's from Brooklyn. And I think Pac himself said that in the interview. Not really saying Biggie had something to do with it, but he's saying, okay, well, if you're the king of New York, then give me my answers of who did this to me. And people got to understand Pac was 25 years old when he passed away. I seen an interview with Tut. Like, I seen a video with, and he seemed like he genuinely was speaking sincerely. I don't know if you've seen it.
I know that we were supposed to interview King Tut, and they wanted some huge amount of money, and they wanted his wife to do the interview, only to find out that he had nothing to do with the shooting of Tupac.
Yeah, he openly said, bro, I had nothing to do with Pac. He said he looked up to the Black Panther Party, and he know from the streets, even back then he was a gangster sticker kid, but he knew Pac was off limits. This is what he said out of his own mouth. And when I'm looking at the video, I don't think he had no reason to lie. You know what I mean? And like Pac, even though he did a song thinking that he was one of the shooters, because when you get, stuff like this be cloudy. When people from the street, you hear all types of stuff from people from the street. This person did it, that person did it, So, Pac also, he would just, it seemed like he was just out to find out who did this to me. And people was feeding him all type of information, but it might not been 100% true.
Yeah, man, it was a sad situation. It was crazy. Well, like I said, I interviewed Billy Garland, and according to him, he had been trying to get a hold of Pac for some years, but the publicists he was speaking to, they kept telling him that Pac wasn't ready. Pac wasn't ready. But then when he got shot and he found out what hospital he was staying in, he just showed up to the hospital, introduced himself as Tupac's biological father, and he said that Afeni happened to be walking by, and they were like, well, we thought the father was dead and so forth. And she's like, no, he's the father. He can come in. So he met Pac for the first time in the hospital.
I knew that. Yeah.
Did you see the interaction between Pac and his father?
The father, I believe he came to Jasmine, he did come to Jasmine apartment a few times. But I never was focusing on how they interacted with each other because Pac was recovering. Most of the time, the apartment was crowded with so many different people, But he was around when Pac got, when he was, trying to heal, and but I never really paid attention to how they interacted with each other.
I mean, the story behind Pac and his father is really kind of crazy because I don't know if you heard the whole story, but Afeni was married to this Black Panther leader. She was his second wife because it was a polygamous situation. They all got locked up during the Panther 21 trial. She gets out and she starts sleeping with Billy Garland and this other guy named Legs, this drug dealer. She gets pregnant. She lists the father as deceased. And depending on who you talk to, you kind of don't really know what's happening, because Billy said that he played with Tupac when he was like young, but she apparently told Pac that his dad was Legs. And then the father, Legs died in prison, which is why the whole lie about, my father passed, I didn't cry, because he thought his father really was dead. And then he finds out his real dad is Billy later on, and so forth. I mean, at the point that Pac got reunited with his real dad, did you talk to him about that at all or no?
We never talked to her about that. First of all, with Fanny, I think she was an honorable person, his mom's. I know he knows her longer than any of us, and he have a right to have his opinion about her. But as a woman, I seen nothing but a real respectful woman, the way she carried herself, honorable. So even talking about who she slept with and all that, I don't even feel comfortable discussing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do know the type of woman that I know of her. She was a real strong, honorable woman. You know what I mean? Because I did see some of the interviews where he said what he had to say about it. Even that's his rights. I can't get involved in that either, because they was together before. You know what I mean? And apparently they do have a child together. And sometimes when there's separation and the divorces, it can be ugly sometimes. Both parties have their own opinion and things like that. You know what I mean? Where it's a sad situation to be able to be raised. I wasn't raised with no parents. So to be able to think that your father was this and that, it can be sad. You know what I mean?
Well, you were in the hospital with Pac as he was, having his last few days. Afeni chose to take him off life support. He had lost a finger. I think he had lost one of his lungs and so forth, because essentially he wouldn't be the same Tupac afterwards. And I remember Billy Garland also said the same thing. He wishes that Afeni had not taken him off life support. Now, as someone who decided to take my own father off of life support, it's not a decision you take lightly.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So when I talked to Billy, I said, I'm sure it was an insanely difficult decision. I don't think that his mom purposely let him die when he could have lived. But Billy said what he said. How do you feel about that situation?
I feel like you said, it's something that's not taken lightly. I'm sure that the doctors had some really private conversations with the mother saying that this can happen, that can happen, this is what he's heading to. Like, I'm sure, like you said, something like that is not going to be easy, especially the way Pac and his mother was. They was like super close. You know what I mean? They loved each other. Like, I never seen a mother and son relationship like that, the way Pac was with his mother. They had a very strong relationship, so I'm sure it was something that was difficult for her, and she probably felt that was the best decision for Pac. You understand? And now that I'm older, and everything Islamically, that's not permissible. Now I'm a Muslim now, so that's different. It's and Islamically, we just allow the person to go when God take his soul. It's not allowed to inject anything or try to help him and stuff like that to help the person, meet his destination or take his soul earlier. Like some people, they have these things. What is it called? Euthanasia. And these things were, and now from an Islamic point of view, it's not allowed. But to go and speak about a mother who done it, I'm sure she had her reasons. I'm sure she had her reason, because I have kids myself, and I don't think no parent would just openly want to just, pull the plug on their kid. So I'm sure the doctor might have had some conversation that it was between her and the doctor, that she felt like that was the right thing for her at that particular time. I felt she made that decision. But she do like how you did with your father. You feel like that was the best thing for you and your father. You know what I mean? What's best for your father, I mean.
Yeah, no, I had a long talk with the doctor, and at the time my dad was still conscious. He had Parkinson's, so he was losing the ability to breathe through his throat muscles, essentially. So he kept having to be on different breathing tubes and so forth. And we both agreed at this point that, okay, if he ever gets incubated again, that we should do a do not resuscitate, because he's not going to come out of it. He's already in very bad shape. He might not come out of it. Barely there. And listen, this is something I still feel bad about today. Like, should I have not signed that form and maybe given him an extra month or something? Or he wasn't going to recover, but could he have had a little more life? So yeah, when I hear people saying, oh, she took him off life support too early, I feel it's people that haven't really gone through that type of decision before.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think like as a father, it's probably easier than dealing with a child. Because at least with my father, that's the natural state of things. I'm supposed to bury my father. You're not supposed to bury your kid.
Yeah, it's difficult, when you bury your kid.
So it's probably even more difficult for her to actually do that.
Yeah, bro, I know it was difficult for her. I can imagine, I can imagine.
Well, you're religious and I'm not. So you and I look at things a little bit differently. And I respect your point of view as much as any other point of view.
Yes.
The way I look at things, though, you feel that things are predetermined and so forth. I look at things like this. I feel like every single day you wake up and you either push your death date back by your actions or you bring it a little bit closer based on what you do that particular day. I don't feel that things are predetermined the same way that you do. So, for example, if I woke up this morning, I live by Central Park. If I decided to go wander around the park and find some guy to sell me some pills, I am bringing my death date a little bit closer that day by my actions, right? I go and take some pills. They got fentanyl in them. I die, right? I've interviewed, at this point, I've interviewed 5 people that died from fentanyl.
Whoa.
Yeah. Rich Homie Quan, who recently passed, Gangster Boo, Mac Miller, Coolio, and I forgot what the teenage singer, Aaron Carter.
Wow.
Aaron Carter, who used to be a big pop star. 5 people, all relatively young, some in their 20s, who just died from taking fake pills. And I just feel like when you make those types of decisions, you'll speed up your demise.
Yeah, I believe but I believe, like you said, we look at it a little different. I believe the day and the time that you're gonna die is written for you. The way you're gonna die is written for you. How you're gonna die is written for you. So that's what we believe in Muslim. The Prophet Muhammad told us that when a baby is in the stomach of a woman, the mother, an angel come to the baby when it's I believe when the soul comes into the baby at a certain months or certain weeks, and the angel write down, what path he's going to take, whether he's going to be wretched or happy, the day he's going to die, the money that's coming to him. That's what we believe.
Hey man, listen, at the end of the day, your philosophy is just as valid as mine. Right? It's all equally truthful because we don't know what's going to happen.
But we purpose. I also believe what you said, taking certain things, you destroying yourself. Taking drugs is destroying yourself, and you helping, making it easy for you to meet your death. You know what I mean? So I get you.
Yeah. Kendrick Lamar has a new album, GNX. Are you allowed to listen to hip hop?
I don't listen to music. I know what goes on. You know what I mean? I know what goes on in the music scene. I know what's happening, but I don't listen to music.
Right, because of your religion.
Yes.
Right. Well, Kendrick Lamar did drop a new song where he samples Tupac's Made N-words.
Yeah,
record.
I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought he did a pretty great job of it. In fact, I remember someone used AI to put Tupac's vocals on Kendrick Lamar's verses. So you actually hear Tupac rapping Kendrick's verses.
Oh, wow.
I got the fire burning in me from within. Concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day a new version of me. And though to me the midgets a minute in pain. Juggling the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to make friends on my lonely soul.
Yeah, man. AI is crazy, bro.
Yeah? I mean, how do you feel about someone like a Kendrick redoing a Tupac song?
I don't really, to be honest, I don't know too much about Kendrick but from what I hear, he seemed like a positive individual. This is what I hear. I never heard a Kendrick song in my life. They said that from what I heard, he had a concert, try to bring a lot of the gang members on stage, whether they, Bloods, Crips, Mexicans. I think that's good. I read it. I think somebody sent me an interview before where he said he met Pac when he was a young kid. And I believe he looked up to Pac and he had a lot of respect for Pac. So I look at it like when they do these things, they just showing respect to the artists that came before them.
Well, you were actually in the Made video, the original Tupac one, right?
Yes.
And I guess a fight broke out?
A fight broke out on that. Yes, it did. It did. Between me and one of the stunt guys. One of the stunt guys, you know, we was getting into arguments all day. And I guess he was testing me. I don't know why. He was like, I guess an ex like military veteran guy, and he just kept testing us, you know what I mean? Really testing me, and I kept going back and forth arguing with the guy. And I guess he threatened me or something like that, or come outside, and I remember it just went down from there. And even Pac, there was an audio where Pac was like, I watch you kept threatening and, you know, making problems with my homie and this, and like, you kept trying. Like, we was really trying to work and ignore the guy. But eventually, yeah, he got disciplined, you know? Right,
but didn't he come back with a gun?
Somebody said he came back. I think Goldie said he came back with a gun. By that time, we left. Yeah, they said he did came back with a gun, you know?
Cat Williams, he recently came forward and said the reason why he's been going to Diddy so hard was because he felt that Diddy has something to do with Tupac's death. And Cat really always looked up to Tupac, felt he was a kindred spirit, like really like idolized him when he was younger and so forth.
Yeah.
Do you feel there's any truth at all in Diddy's connection with Tupac's murder?
You know, there's no concrete evidence there, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like if some concrete evidence come out and they point that he definitely has something to do with it, I wouldn't be surprised, because I remember in those times that the way he moved was, he was a very scary individual. And, you know, scary people with money do dangerous things. If they not, you know, if you can't handle it like men, they always look for another way to get rid of someone that they feel is a threat to them. So, you know, no one knows. I think now that, you know, you hear rumors here and there that there's going to be brought up in a trial and things like that. And what's the guy who's in jail now? Keefe D himself said, you know, that he was involved. So I'm trying to see how it's going to play out, but I won't be surprised, to be honest.
I mean, it's a hard thing to prove.
Yeah, that's why I said it's hard to really say, yeah, he has something to do with it when there's no evidence, you know, concrete evidence.
Right. Unlike Keefe, Tupac is not going to write a tell-all book implicating himself in the situation. So then you got to prove that there was phone calls. You got to prove there was money that changed hands. Because essentially it's a murder for hire, which is what like Lil Durk is going through right now.
Yeah, man.
It's you know, with all the witnesses dead and so forth. Because I heard that Pac's family was talking to a lawyer, I guess Benjamin Crump, to potentially sue Diddy, but Diddy at this point, I believe, has over 100 lawsuits. So you just got to wait in line.
That's crazy. Like that. That's crazy.
I mean, how do you feel? You know, I remember, it's interesting, right? Because I didn't really think about this before, but Diddy had accepted some sort of award. This is a few years ago. And he basically took a shot at Suge because Suge was in prison. He's like, yeah, here I am, you know. Wow. On the video dancing, and he kind of implied, yeah, and look at where Suge is right now.
Whoa.
Right? It was something to that extent.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people go look this up and find the example. It was I remember that's how the story, it was basically he had quoted what Suge said on stage, and Suge at the time was in prison, and he's basically living his life and almost a billionaire and so forth. But now in 2024, Diddy's also in prison, potentially looking at more time than Suge Knight.
That's crazy, bro. That's why you have to be humble. And you have to be, I think it's very important you have to be humble, because everyone can be tested. You know, everyone can be trialed. Everyone can be tried. I mean, everyone. So, you know, to say, look where he's at and look where I'm at, and, you know, you ain't squeaky clean yourself, it was kind of like, that's from arrogance. You know, I think when you get to that point where you feel like you're untouchable, you start behaving this way.
Yeah, it's one of the 48 laws of power. That was the one that really, you know, there's a few of those laws that really I internalized deeply, but that was one of them. One of them is, once you win, you stop. You don't spike the ball.
Yeah,
you don't do a touchdown dance. You don't rub their face in it, because you could potentially turn a win into a bigger loss. Because if you continue to aggravate that person after you've already beaten them,
Yeah.
you're going to start making them more and more angry to the point where they'll crash out.
Yeah, true. And then,
Everyone loses.
Yeah, that's why you got to be wise and say, you know what, I got past it. It was, I didn't make, because anybody could have went to prison back in the day. Like, back in the day when we was going through the East Coast, West Coast, you're supposed to just fall back. You're supposed to just fall back.
It's interesting when you say that, the East Coast, West Coast thing, that the one thing that Billy Garland told me that I never really paid attention to before was when Pac was going through the whole East Coast, West Coast beef.
Mm-hmm.
Afeni pulled him aside and said, this is the same thing that the Black Panthers went through with COINTELPRO. That COINTELPRO literally, and me and Billy talked about this, and I'd heard about this a lot, that there was East Coast Panthers and there was West Coast Panthers, right? And the government had paid informants that were in the middle of it, and they were taking their mail and mixing it up and so forth, and basically threatening each other and saying, yeah, when I see you, I'm going to kill you. It's on site and so forth. So by the time that they would beat up, they thought that there was a whole beef going on, which was really orchestrated by the government.
Yes, I heard about that. Yeah,
this is a real thing. This is not conspiracy theory. The papers really came out, and people really testified on this on the stand. And Afeni was basically telling Pac, you're going through the same thing we already went through. And according to Billy and so forth, that's when Pac started thinking like, okay, I got to stop this. I'm literally repeating history again and so forth. I mean, was there near the end, was Pac really having conversations about, I got to stop this? I have friends on the East Coast. I know there's the One Nation album and so forth, but was he really trying to really squash it?
He really was. The reason why he was doing the One Nation album, because he wanted to show that it wasn't an East Coast, West Coast beef. And I heard Pac out of his own mouth, my ears, saying that he don't really want nothing bad to happen to Biggie. He said, I just want to spank him like a little brother. So I don't think Pac really wanted to see Biggie harmed. I think he wanted to prove that it's not an East Coast, West Coast beef. And if they done that to the Black Panthers, who was more, structured than rappers that from the streets, you best believe they had some plants in the hip hop industry and still do. You understand? Like, it's even more easier to, to put some plants in the rappers, because all you gotta do is bring some Hennessy and weed. They're gonna let you in their crew. You know what I mean? This is, the Black Panthers, it was more difficult to breach them. And they did it with these individuals, so of course. And they used to do the same thing to the Bloods and Crips, like back in the day. I know people that say they used to dress up in red and they go do a drive-by in the Crip and vice versa. And they be police doing this.
What happened with you and Shyne?
So what happened with Shyne, we was at the one of the Source Awards, and I was sitting right here with all the outlaws, all the homies, and Shyne was sitting next with a woman by himself. This is why I got a lot of respect for Shyne, you know what I mean? Because we actually spoke after this. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I said some words, he said some words, and I got up. And I remember Bone was there too, and Bone was trying to get him from this side, and security got up. He got up too. So let it be clear, like Shyne, this is why I say I respect him, because I know, when a person is afraid or not, even though we could have been like 30 deep, he by himself with one girl. The security wasn't letting us get to each other, but when he got up and we started mouthing off, and I just spit at him, and he spit back. And he was like, what's up? Like, he was in, and we spoke years after that. Like, we spoke through Twitter messages, and he was like, he was on, at that particular time, he was following the Jewish religion. And he realized that I was Muslim. I don't know if I might have been in Saudi Arabia at that time, and we were speaking through, DMs, and he was like, man, Pac, I remember his words. He said, Pac was like our first Barack Obama. So when he's saying this, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm automatically thinking he hate Pac. You know what I mean? And that's the crazy with, when you just really don't understand situation or anybody, you make an enemy of a person who is not, ain't against you, But that was the only situation with Shyne.
Well, Chino XL, he had some words with Pac and back and forth back in the day. Now, he died recently.
Yeah, I heard. Condolences to his family.
Well, yeah, on July 28th, 2024, he hung himself in his house.
I didn't know that was the cause of death.
Yeah, age 50. younger than me.
Mm.
I don't know what you could be going through to do that to yourself. I had a friend, Disco D, who hung himself in his house also. That was a really bad situation. He was bipolar and going through mental issues. I don't know what Chino XL was going through, but it was, I liked him as an artist. I thought he was a dope rapper. But originally the beef started from a song called Riot, where Chino XL said, "I'm trying not to get fucked like Tupac in jail." And then Pac responded on Hit 'Em Up.
Yes, because Pac didn't get raped. You know what I mean? This rumor been going around for so many years. It started by Wendy Williams. She was the first one that got on radio and said Pac got raped in prison. Pac clarified it himself. I know you said that you heard a statement of Suge saying this and this and that. Suge say anything sometimes.
Right. Suge actually says it. I heard the audio. What he said was it was a jail call and it was over John Singleton's original script where there's a rape scene in prison. And I actually saw the script where...
Yeah, and I think he mentioned something else about some other scenes. I don't want to mention it, but I kind of know.
Right.
It was about that and then something else. And I believe Suge...
yeah.
I think he really was talking
It was about a Feedy having a gay relationship.
Yeah, and I don't even like people bring that up. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's a woman, respect her. But anyway, Suge say all types of stuff. We know, bro, listen, we know Pac didn't get raped. The whole prison would have been speaking about it. So many people had friends who was in prison with Pac at that time. We was visiting Pac weekly. Like, Pac was making sure that, because he wanted to get out of cell, so he was getting visitors all the time. You never seen him roughed up. You never seen him going through anything. He never looked down. It would have been all over the news even now, bro. It would have been spread it. You know what I mean? I guess, and that's why Pac said it. He said himself. He said, "I didn't lay down when people put guns on me. You think I'm gonna lay down unless a man raped me in prison? Like, come on, bro." He would have. He like he said, they would have had to kill me. You know.
Well, Pac responded, Hit 'Em Up.
Yes.
And then Chino XL had a freestyle where he dissed Pac throughout the freestyle. You ever heard that?
No. I never heard a Chino XL record in my life, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And listen, I heard the freestyle for the first time.
I heard he was dope. I heard he was a dope rapper.
No, like Chino, listen, I understand this is your man, but like lyrically, what he was doing on that freestyle was like, oh, okay, Chino really was that guy back in the day in terms of putting words together.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not trying to take away from him, because I never bought a Biggie Small album. I never bought anybody that Pac was mad at. I never listened to their music back then. You know what I mean? So.
Well, no, what I want to say was, at one point, Chino said that he ran into Tupac in Venice Beach and they squashed their beef. Do you know anything about that?
Don't know anything about that. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think a person will have a reason to lie like that,
I'm not sure. But at one point, the Outlaws ran into Chino XL, I guess at a show, and I guess Chino apologized, and everyone kind of became cool after that. It wasn't really an issue.
I don't remember that either. I heard some of the Outlaws said it, but I don't remember that.
Well, apparently the Outlaws ran into Mobb Deep as well, and once again, it wasn't an issue.
I was there when I ran into I was the main one speaking to the people from Mobb Deep, and the video is up on YouTube where you see me and Prodigy. You know what I mean? And I went to the hotel room. I spoke with him. He really said they pretty much was like, we don't have an issue with Pac. We don't have an issue with Pac. We don't have an issue with y'all. And we shook hands. There's a video with me shaking Prodigy's hand and speaking about it. You know what I mean? I think sometimes that's all it takes. All it takes is people to talk about it, meet, run into each other. And sometimes, because misunderstandings can blow out. You know what I mean? Can go overboard. So I think sometimes that's all it takes. Like, just meet up with a person. You know what I mean? Talk it out. If you want to fight a fair fight, shake hands ever. You don't want to fight, talk peacefully. That's how I always been. You understand? And let's keep it moving.
Yeah, I think I really like the way that Junior Mafia and the Outlaws didn't continue to hold on to these beefs that their people had long after they're gone, because I feel that it's like, well, what's that going to accomplish? You're going to be mad at this person forever?
You got to be mature, bro. I kind of understand. Like, you got to grow up. You got to, especially we got kids now. we reaching 50 years old, bro.
Yeah, I'm 51.
You 51. See, like we ain't in our 20s no more to be, you know what I mean? That's why I don't really understand when people really trying to keep bringing these things up. And, you know, I get that. You know what I mean? I get that. Like, I'm not going to hold on to a beef. You know, I'm not going to, the only time you're going to really get me out of my, if it come to my family. You understand? If it come to my family, then they see the Napoleon that they was hoping to never see again. But other than that, you want to talk stuff on the internet, you want to do all that, as long as I let the people talk nowadays. You know what I mean? As long as you ain't, or bringing it to me aggressively, you can have the internet. That's your domain. I'm 40-some years old. It's not about going back and forth. It's about you going to see me one day, and then let's talk like men. Whatever happened.
What exactly happened between Tupac and Michael Jackson?
That's also a lot, bro. That Pac.
Right, because, I hit up Edie, right? Because this came across my timeline that basically there's a story. Some guy is telling the story. Some guy I've never heard of was that Michael Jackson beat up Tupac.
That's what I'm saying. That's a lie.
Right. And I'm like, and they're like, it could have happened. It could have happened. I'm like, okay, you mean to tell me the most famous person on earth beat up the most famous rapper on earth, and only one person is talking about it?
Exactly.
No one else mentioned it on any level?
Like, bro, that's how you know the internet is dangerous, and people just say anything, and a lot of these things actually go viral because we live in the new generation don't understand how, first of all, how big Pac was and how big Michael Jackson was. Michael Jackson had security. He used to run around with security like the president. So you really think that the security gonna let him and Pac have a fair fight? Like, it doesn't even make sense. But I guess people, they just ran with it. They make up stories and just, for what, likes and views. Nothing happened between Pac and Michael Jackson, bro.
Were they ever together? Was there ever any conversations? Because, I mean, I saw some clips you did on other platforms where you talked about Michael Jackson was mad that Tupac walked out of him.
Yeah,
so
that's
he got revenge by doing a Biggie song. And
yeah, Pac wanted to be able, Michael Jackson wanted to do a song with Pac, and this is what Pac said. And he went to the studio, he was excited because he wanted to do that song and meet Michael Jackson. When he got to the studio, Michael Jackson wasn't there. Pac said, I walked out because he felt like, come on, bro, like he wanted to meet him. So he felt like, Pac wanted to be more personal. Before I do a song with you, let's meet. Tell me what type of maybe lyrics you want me to say, but so I guess he was like, man, he wasn't feeling that.
okay. And that was it. So the two of them never met.
I don't know if they met. I know that time they never met in that studio, bro. But I know they never had a fight, bro.
Well, I think if they met, there'd be some photos together. I mean, Tupac and Michael Jackson. Who's not going to take that photo? Like,
Exactly, bro. Michael Jackson.
that's an iconic photo.
Yeah, that's what I said. And if they would have fought, it would have been on every news. It would have been everywhere. Man, that don't even make sense. Michael Jackson fighting Pac, that doesn't make sense, bro.
I mean, Michael Jackson was like, what, all of 80 pounds? Like,
Yeah, he's not going to be he's not Michael Jackson. Nobody want to fight Michael Jackson. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who would be angry at Michael Jackson?
it's Michael Jackson, man. You just happy to be around him.
Yeah, even if it was a case, like if Michael Jackson probably would have had words, you just be like, okay, man, I get you. You right.
Oh, no, I'd let Michael Jackson punch me in the face and not do nothing. That's Michael Jackson. Like, yo, you could hold that. I'm like, this is a story right here.
That story
Michael
alone.
Jackson. Yeah, that story. Yeah, Michael Jackson smacked the shit out of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna retaliate. He got Navy SEALs around him. You probably, you think about doing something, you get shot in the head.
Yeah.
Well, you actually, you talked about how you actually had a scuffle with Tupac at one point.
Wrestling match, not
Yeah.
because Pac was sometimes he'd come in the trailer and just start grabbing us and wrestling him. And Pac was a strong dude, so I remember like when you were a teenager, for some reason you think you the toughest. I went through that stage. I thought I was the toughest. I do my little push-ups every day. I thought I was the strongest. And I used to look at Pac like he was skinny. We had a little wrestling match and he put me in my place, let me know, look, you the little homie, I'm the big homie. Nothing serious though. He used to play around with all the outlaws like that. Yeah.
Well, you had a situation where you stood up to Suge Knight?
Yeah, we had a situation with Suge Knight. Suge Knight was we was in New York, and I forget, it was a Saturday Night Live. I believe it was Saturday Night Live. And one of my homies, he just came home from prison, Cyber we call him. He was sitting in the audience, and Suge must have been down, and he was blowing like a cigar smoke, and he said something like disrespectful to Suge, and I guess somebody, like one of his baby mothers, went and said something. And all I know, Suge had him in the room. I'm with my brothers, I'm with my cousins, I'm with all my homies from Jersey at this time. So Suge took him in a room, and remind you, this dude had an uncle whose nickname was the Reaper. He was actually there as well. And you know, if you get the name Reaper, it's for a reason, you know? Big dude, 6 feet some, we know how he get down, you know? So they took him in a room, and Pac was in a room with him, and my man Daryl, Cyber we call him, and I remember Suge was like going in at him. And I remember at one time I moved Suge's hand, like, okay, chill. And Pac got upset with me. Pac was like, Moo, you supposed to be the first one putting your homie in check. He violated. You supposed to be the one checking him, this and this and that. But I'm not going to, I grew up with this dude all my life, you understand? And I'm not going to, you know, I know Pac was trying to live by different codes, and we on death row. Like, if I say violate this person, you have to. But this is dudes I knew my whole life. They from my hood. They from my block. And I'm not going to get down like that. You know what I mean? So eventually he left. They took him out of the room, and his uncle was walking back and forth. And his uncle's like, thank God, because there was security guards there. He's like, thank God they let him out, because I think I was going to just bust in the room and start shooting. And I mean, most likely he would have probably did it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Suge was reckless back then. There was, you know, stories of Sam Snead getting beat up. There was stories of, you know, that was one thing Billy said. You know, he's like, he called Suge basically a scoundrel and said that he had his boy around these ridiculous situations, like stripping men down and making them drink pee and shit like that. And he really hated that part.
Death Row was wild. And you got to understand, like, when you really come from the hood and you start seeing some success, you want to change your mindset. You might still want to bring your crew around, but you're supposed to want to grow, and you want them to grow with you. Mm-hmm. You understand? The only time I really see people behave like that is people who not really from the streets. I know Suge is from Compton, but I'm talking about when you really from them streets and you see what happened and you finally get a chance to make it out, you are happy. So you start moving a little different. Of course, we still was in our young 20s. You're probably going to have a few scuffles here and there, but then you start thinking about, like, if I don't get it together here, I'm going to be back there. I'm going to be back on the streets, because you really came from that. You know what I mean? So I just don't understand if a person, you really had it all. But I believe, in my opinion, he really wasn't from the streets like that. He had street dudes around him. We know the dudes he had around him. And unfortunately, that's what happened. You dealing with the industry. The music industry ain't going to allow you to bully people for so long, because the people that want to make money off of that, they don't want violence, you know?
What do you think was the craziest thing that you saw Suge do outside of that situation that you're talking about?
I don't really think I ever seen Suge do much like that. You know what I mean? I think I haven't really seen him do stuff like, there was people getting beat up in the studio, and we was fighting in the studio. We was doing that, and we was kids, and it was fun to us back then. I never actually seen Suge myself do anything.
What was the most violent thing you seen Suge's people do?
You know, in the studio, it wasn't really, see, to us, this was like horseplay. Slapping people in the back of the head. They was making a joke of strip and stuff like that, but I never seen anything other than that. You know what I mean? Just, you might get beat up in the studio. We was doing it along with, individuals, but it pretty much was like the streets inside the studio. But I never really seen them do nothing crazy. We of course, stories, you know what I mean? But the studio, it was just horseplay, bro. Even though people was getting beat up, though. People was getting beat up.
Yeah, I think that's where TDE learned from past mistakes that their contemporaries have made. You got Top, who is, affiliated with the Bounty Hunters and so forth. And you got, Crips and Bloods and so forth on that label. But you never hear of anything crazy happening over there. You never hear of anyone getting beat up in the studio.
That's the label with Kendrick Lamar's on, right?
Yeah, well, he was on there. He's now, he left because he fulfilled his contract over there. Okay. But, SZA's over there, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, a bunch of other people. Doechii, she's on there. But, I mean, I know Top. Top lives up the street from me. We talk every so often. But I never hear of any death row type activities happening over there. You never hear of people getting beat up at shows. You never hear of artists getting threatened, or not being paid.
They learn from the ones before them, which is...
They learn.
They learn, yeah.
No, which is great. And now you actually have a label that makes similar type of music to what Death Row was doing. I mean, it's different, but there are enough similarities.
Yeah.
Everyone just keeps getting more and more successful and, getting more and more money, more fans without anyone going to prison, without anyone dying, without engineers getting beat up, without anyone drinking urine or, people getting stabbed at shows or shootings after the concerts or whatever else. Like, it's actually run like a real professional business.
Because most of the people that get into the music industry from the streets are choosing the music over the streets. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons we try to get away from the streets, to get involved in that,
Yeah, but these days, when you look at, for example, Chicago drill rap, or like what's happening in Jacksonville, you now see, for the first time, people actually committing major crimes and then rapping about them. And then getting caught up. You heard about this?
Yeah, I'm hearing that the rappers are actually, they're using rap lyrics in courts now, I believe. Or trying.
Well, they're doing that. And they've done that to a certain degree over the years. But like, you now have situations where you're dissing your dead enemies, you're dissing your dead relatives, the relatives of your dead enemies or your enemies that are still alive. And, you look at, for example, Lil Durk and his whole situation. He now has 2 murder for hire charges in the feds, right? Yeah. And I went through the paperwork, right? So, for example, there was a situation where King Von got killed, and that was his friend, his artist, and he blames this guy Quando Rondo for it. So, based on what the feds are saying, there was a murder for hire. They go to kill Quando Rondo. They end up killing his cousin, Lil Pob, and a video circulates where Quando's screaming over his dead cousin being dead. Lil Durk drops a song basically talking about that situation, and he sampled the scream and put it in the song.
Yeah, man. I spoke to Lil Durk a few times because I know his father. I'm friends with his father. They brought me to Chicago. First, we went to Philadelphia, in Germantown, and we try to, they cleaned up the streets there. So I know him from what his father's doing, you know what I mean? With the brothers in Germantown, and Germantown Mass shit. And they took me from Philadelphia after they did some amazing street work trying to get the people away from crime. And we went to Chicago, and I went to their hood, and I did some talks in the Mass shit with the father, because the father is very in touch with trying to lead the kids the right way, including his son. You know what I mean? So I pray that it works out for him, because it's him. From what I know, I don't really know too much anything about the case. I just pray that it work out for him, because he seemed to me as a good kid. You know what I mean? His father's one who was even trying to bring him to stop the killing in Chicago. They really was trying to stop. They had something about a couple months ago, where I was invited. You know what I mean? The Big Durk invited me. I wasn't able to come from Saudi Arabia there, but the theme was they wanted to get different gang members from different hoods in Chicago and come to the table to stop the killing. So I think he was ready. He was about to go down a path, sincerely. I'm talking about Lil Durk. He seemed like he was really trying to go down a path where he wanted to stop the killing. So I just hope everything works out for him, bro.
Well, he's going down that path, in one aspect, but on the other aspect, he's charged with the killing of Lil Pob in an attempt to kill Quando Rondo, and then he's also charged with murder for hire for the guy that allegedly killed his brother, D-Thing.
Man, see, I don't know anything about the case.
So there's, so you have to wonder whether he sincerely was looking to go into his new path, and really embrace Islam and so forth, or whether he's realizing that these situations might catch up to me, so let me try to I don't know.
We can't read what's inside of a person. I felt like he was really sincerely with his religion, with Islam. And you also got to understand, sometimes people say anything in raps to sell records. Doesn't mean it was absolutely truth. You know what I mean? I don't know anything about the case. So I definitely don't know anything about the case. I just spoke to him a few times. I know his father. And I hope everybody who, anyone who lost their lives, anyone who's going through this, I hope it work out for them and the families,
Well, one of my Vlad TV YouTube members, HBKC83, he said, what do you think Pac would have thought about you being as religious as you are right now? Do you think that Pac would have eventually converted to Islam as well?
I think Pac would have respected that because he got Muslim family members. I can't say if he would have converted or not because that's a matter of the unseen. People always say that Pac would have been Muslim. No, if it was written for him to be Muslim, he would have been Muslim before he died. But he would have respected that because I chose my path. He has Muslim family members, big cousins and stuff that's Muslim, and he would have respected that.
Well, Pac had a cross tattooed on his back, right?
Yes.
So him being Christian is sort of integral in who he is.
I wouldn't even say he's like, I think a lot of it's cultural. Like a lot of people who say they're Christian, they don't go to church, wearing a cross or getting a cross. It was I think it's more of a cultural thing, to be honest. In my opinion. Coming in America, a lot of people have crosses and they don't step foot in church or read the Bible. It just became, even with chains, it just became, especially in the 90s and the 2000s, everybody had a cross chain.
No, that's true. I mean, you see Drake wearing cross chains and he's Jewish. So, no, I'm serious. When I saw that, I'm like, yo, he's Jewish. I mean, it's cool if he wants to do it. I don't care, but it's just.
Good thing,
Yeah. Were you there during the outside meeting between Nas and Tupac?
I was there, yes. I was there.
Okay. And this story has been retold by Nas, retold by Snoop, told by you guys, and so forth. So
it was a respectful meeting. Nas wasn't disrespecting Pac. Pac wasn't disrespecting Nas. Nas walked up with Pac, with his homies, and they really spoke like men. You understand? And they showed us as youngsters how it can be done. And Pac definitely said, once I go back, come back from Vegas, I have songs coming at you, I'm going to remove the verses. And they really, they walked away respecting each other. And I think that was dope. I really think that was dope, bro.
Right, because I think Jungle, Nas' brother, had said that he had a pistol on him, he was ready to air the place out, but you guys were just way deeper. You guys were 40 deep at the time. Yeah, and Nas had maybe 7 people with him.
We was way deep, but half of them could have been scary guys, because I'm just being honest. It doesn't mean nothing because you're deep. If you were a real guy and you can be 3 deep and face 40 guys. Deep doesn't mean nothing. And I thought, from what I remember, some people say numbers of Nas was different. I thought he was also deep. You understand? Or maybe I could have got it mixed up with other people in the park. But I think, deep doesn't mean nothing if you got heart. And I think that's why Nas walked up, because he showed that he had he wasn't afraid. He could have went the other way if we outnumbered him. Maybe we did outnumber him. He could have went the other way, but he did walk straight to Pac, and they started talking. I couldn't hear the conversation because of all the noise, but Pac said, I told him once I get back, I'm gonna remove the songs I was dissing him. And I think that was dope, bro. That it doesn't get a lot of recognition because, following that lead shows that, you can put your ego aside.
Now, was Snoop Dogg in the area when this happened?
Yeah, maybe in a corner somewhere, but he wasn't close to where he can understand the talk. He can hear what was going on. Definitely he wasn't part of anything to really to give an account. If he give an account about it, he can say, well, from, where I was standing, this what it looked like happened.
You said that Snoop has disrespected Tupac more than a lot of his enemies and so forth. Do you think that there's really animosity between these two? Well, I mean, Pac is obviously gone.
I think so.
Between Snoop and Tupac?
I think so, from the simple fact of the words that come out of his mouth. And I'm just, for example, you got people who don't like Pac. They can say whatever they want, that's their opinion. But a friend, sneak dissing them, is what I really don't understand. Like, for example, the whole situation with Nas, the thing in the park, where Snoop said, I'm a gang member. You know, Pac walked by and said, yeah, I just checked him or something like that. And Snoop said, I looked at him like, no, Nas gave you a pass. That wasn't true. So I'm starting to think, like, why are you making up these stories about Pac? What wasn't true? And then, if I'm not mistaken, I can't say it word by word, but there was an interview a long time ago that he did with Jada Pinkett and her mother and their daughter. They had like a podcast show at one particular time. And I remember, you know, Jada said something like, I didn't really like, Snoop, how you was calling the woman out of their names in your raps. And Snoop replied, it's not word by word, but he replied saying something similar like, yeah, I was trying to change and, you know, and not speak bad about women until Pac came to death row and like brought me back. So it seemed like he was sneak dissing them. Look it up, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
I believe you. You're talking about Red Table Talk.
Yes. So when I start seeing that, I'm like, something is not adding up. Because one, if that's your boy, you know what I mean? And he's dead, even if you see negative things about him, you should leave that alone. Because he's not even here to defend himself. And he did some other stuff. And so I just always look at it like he would praise him, but then diss him. And that's like the oldest, corniest tactics ever that we used to do in the hood. Like, it's corny.
Well, you talked about how Snoop did a song with Big Dre, who was one of the people involved in Tupac's murder.
I heard somebody mention that to me. You know, I don't even know if that's if it's accurate or not. Somebody said that to me, but I don't know if I ever mentioned it because I kind of heard it. I don't know if it's true or not, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd heard this also. And I think that Big Dre had like an independent label and he probably paid people like Snoop to like do a verse or something like that. This is probably when Snoop was sort of in between situations and needed the money.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And even then, I can't really speak on that matter because I don't know. Because he could have said I did the song with him, not knowing he was in the car, not back then. You know, so I don't think I ever spoke on that. But I heard that rumor before. But what I'm talking about is that if they pay attention to the words, he's always sneak dissing them. And I'm not making this up. They can just listen. You know what I mean? And that's why I really don't understand. Like, these things are shocking to me. That's all.
Well, you said that Snoop said that Tupac died because he chose sides?
I'm not sure if I said it exactly like that, but I don't even know if Snoop did. It said Snoop mentioned something like that, and that's what I replied with.
That's what it sounds like. I think it was Art of Dialogue.
Yeah, if it was Art of Dialogue and I spoke about it, it might have been an interview that I heard him say that. Which might, look, Pac died because he got into a fight with an individual. It's not about what side he chose. You know, you can be a mailman and get into a fight with somebody in America and they'll blow your head off. This is just we come from a violent society. You understand? And even if he feel that way, you know what I mean? Okay, he can feel that way. So that's probably nothing I can't really go in. But he do a lot of sneak dissing, bro. He bring Pac up and then he diss him, you know what I mean? And I just don't understand that. Even from the simple fact, like, it's just a lot of stuff. It doesn't make sense to me, bro.
Well, you've been living in Saudi Arabia for a while.
Yes.
And you have a barbecue restaurant in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
The name, what's the name of it again?
Q Smoky Beards, Q. We just opened up a bakery, Bakersfield. And we also have a burger spot, smash burger spot called Okla, me and my partners.
Wow. Okay. And I remember Kanye showed up at your barbecue spot.
Wow. He showed up even at the studio we at right now. We doing this podcast, he came here too. He's with the owner's a good friend of mine, so he was here doing some stuff as well. But he did come to the restaurant, bro, and it was I don't even know how to describe that interaction. It was very strange, bro.
Well, I think at the time, Kanye was coming off all the anti-Semitic stuff.
Yes.
How'd you feel about that?
I feel, look, in our religion, we don't attack nobody based on religion. Nobody. That's something that our religion tells us to do. I believe that in the industry, I kind of understood where he was coming from. In the industry, let's keep it real, is ran by Jews. So he feel like the Jews run everything, and he spoke bad about the Jews. They took $600 million from him, so he was trying to prove his point that they got all the power, which is okay. They did. If you do good business moves and that's how you end up, nobody can be mad at that. They were strategic. They did their thing, and they took over, You can't be mad at them because they beat you to the race. You understand? So, you know, because I'm a Muslim and we don't attack nobody based on their religion, that's something I can't do. Do I know that the industry is ran by certain people? Yes, of course, 100%. You know what I mean?
I mean, look, if he went on Twitter and said, I'm going DEFCON 4 on Muslims,
I wouldn't like that. Of course.
you know, would you still have him eat at your restaurant?
Probably not. I'm going to be honest. You know what I mean? Probably not. I couldn't really... Just like if he went to a Jewish restaurant, they could have told him no. They had to, you know what I mean? I wouldn't accept him to speak bad about Muslims like that either. You understand? If, for example, there was people that spoke bad about Muslims on Twitter before, and I approached them, and I try to have a dialogue with them, and I try to give them understanding of the religion of Islam. If they don't understand after that, then I can't really, you know, change their opinion. But I get where you're coming from because that's your religion. You know what I mean? So the same way if somebody disrespect Islam, I wouldn't like it.
Well, to me, it's not even so much of a religion because I'm not religious, but it's part of my DNA. You know,
Yeah.
I even did a DNA test recently, and they showed that a big chunk of my DNA is Bedouin.
Man, you from
Which
Europe.
is-
You from Europe, bro.
I am from Eastern Europe, and a big
Yeah.
chunk of my DNA is there. But also, I have Bedouin, which is Middle Eastern
Well,
DNA.
at least you took your DNA because I know a lot of them don't want to take the DNA, so I respect that.
I took it. Because, you know, I mean, you always hear, oh, the Eastern Europeans are fake Jews and they're not really whatever. No, I took the DNA test. It actually showed that I have Middle Eastern roots. It is what it is.
Makes sense. It makes sense because
It makes sense.
Yeah,
and when
some
you go
really
to
does.
when you go to places like Russia, you'll see that the Russian Jews, they look different than the regular Russians. Their hair is a little bit
Yeah.
frizzier. Their facial structure is a little bit different. I could, you know, as a typical American, if you look at a bunch of Russians, you can't tell the difference. But
Yeah.
I could tell the difference because this is where I'm from.
I see.
Right?
I see. Yes.
So, but I'm not religious, but you can't really talk about a group of people and say they're all the same. Just
No,
because
I
you
don't-
were born a certain type of way, you have the same tendencies. You have the same ideas. You have the same hatreds. You have the same likes.
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous.
That's
It's
ignorant.
ridiculous.
I agree with you. That's ignorant. I would never, you know, I would never paint nobody, whether it's a religion, whether it's a, you know, group of people, whether it's ethnicity, under the same brush. Steve LaBelle's still my homie to this day. You understand? That's my homie. I look at Steve LaBelle like he really like family to me. He's Jewish. I'm Muslim. Steve LaBelle came to me when I did a talk in Northridge University, speaking about Islam. He came and listened to me in the audience. It's respect there. You understand? When it comes to certain things, I might not agree with those group of people that's doing this. The same way some people, I won't agree with anybody that's doing certain stuff, even if it's against our own religion. You understand? But I would never paint a whole group of anybody with the same, bro. That's ignorance, bro. You know?
I agree. And look, I've publicly spoken about this. I feel that when you look at what's happening in Israel and the Hamas conflict, I've said that both parties, you know, have a large degree of blame in this situation. I don't agree with, you know, the attack that happened where, you know, a lot of people got killed, a lot of people got kidnapped, and so forth. I also don't believe in the heavy-handed response that Israel has done, where you see a lot of innocent people die in the process of them trying to kill, you know, their actual enemies.
Yeah.
But just because you're not, you know, you could be against the Israeli government, but not against Jews. It's the
exactly.
government that's making those decisions. It's Netanyahu and you know, the military leaders that are making those decisions.
Yeah.
Every Jew across the world can't be to blame over what a small group of people are doing.
I agree with you. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, if we break down what's happening in Palestine, no, like you just said out your own mouth, you don't agree with the heavy-handed. You're looking for a group of people, but 40,000 people was killed.
Right.
Like you just said, you don't agree with that.
Don't agree with it.
No way you can blame all the Jews. Similar, you can't blame all the Muslims who crossed the border and kidnapped whatever. You understand?
Right.
But I get your point, bro. I'm on the same page with that. You know what I mean? I don't agree with what's happening against the Palestine. Just like as a Muslim, our religion tell us we wouldn't agree if somebody just start killing innocent Israelis. Because Islam is not a religion that tell you that you can openly just start killing innocent people no matter what. You understand? The Prophet Islam never done that. Our Prophet never done that. You know, even if you hate an individual, I still don't have a right to harm that individual. If I dislike an individual, I don't have a reason to harm that individual. You know what I mean? So that's what a lot of people don't understand. You know, that Islam is not a religion. I don't know if you also know, like when Hitler was doing all that crazy stuff, a lot of Jews were saved by Muslims. I don't know if you know that. A lot of them was being, you know, there's stories that the Albanian Muslims and the Turkish Muslims was giving the Jewish people Islamic IDs so that they can not be harmed. That's what the religion of Islam is about. So I get your point, bro, 100%.
Yeah, there's good people, there's bad people.
Yeah.
And also, if you're indoctrinated from an early age and you're told that this certain group of people are your natural born enemies, it's hard to get past that if you keep staying in that same echo chamber. You see what I'm saying? So if you grow up thinking, and you're Jewish in Israel, and you're growing up thinking all the Muslims hate you, you know, they all want to do the river to the sea, which means to wipe out Israel until it's all Palestine, then you're going to think every Muslim I meet is my enemy. And if you grow up in, you know, in the West Bank or, you know, in Gaza, and all you're taught from an early age is that Jews are the enemies, they're the oppressors, they want us all to die, they want to wipe us out so they could take over the land and build hotels on there, and that's all you know, you're going to grow up angry at this group of people that you don't even know.
You know, Vlad, I seen this Jewish guy, he's from New York, and he said, I remember before it was a state of Israel, it was called Palestine.
Yeah.
He said, right. I remember my grandmother telling me stories that we used to live with the Muslims. The Muslims and the Jews used to babysit each other kids. There was never no Muslim that automatically said we hate the Jews or Israel, for example. It wasn't until politics came, you understand? When they started making it a country of Israel or state of Israel, they started taking land. Naturally, you're going to want to fight back and rebel. You know what I mean? But before all of that, if you listen to some of the statements of the Jewish people, they said we never had an issue with a Muslim. A Muslim never even tried to harm us, you know what I mean? But when they, you know, start taking land from people, because it's the reality. A lot of times people don't want to talk about it, but it is the reality.
And look, I've interviewed a lot of high-end military people, guys like Eric Prince, you know, who started Blackwater, Robert O'Neill, who killed bin Laden. And what everyone says is that Iran is the one that's really funding a lot of the terrorist activity. You know
I don't know. I think Israelis funded it. I think they're all together, you ask me. Israeli and Iran. This is my opinion.
Yeah. Listen, a lot of bullshit's happening. And look, as I've been to Israel multiple times. I've been to Palestine. I've had dinner with Palestinian families in the West Bank. I've actually seen both.
Yeah.
You know, 99% of the people who are all, you know, all gung-ho on social media, they've never even been over there. They've never been out of the country.
True. You know, there's a big Palestinian community here in Saudi Arabia, even in America. I never heard a Palestinian, I'm being honest, that just say I want to kill all Jews.
Right.
I never heard that. I heard them say, you know, my grandfather had this land and all of a sudden they woke up and took their house and key. They complain about these things. But even with that, I'm being honest, I never heard them say I just want to kill an Israeli or Jew. You know what I mean?
I've never met any Jewish people that say they want to just kill off all the Palestinians. Like,
well, you know, I see some videos.
Well, you can find videos on both sides, man.
Yeah,
you can
that's
find
true.
extremists happen on both sides.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, look, the reason why you have to go through all these security checks at airports is because one crazy guy who happens to be Muslim had, you know, bombs in his shoes and try to light them on fire in the plane and actually try to explode, you know. So this jackass messed it up for everyone
But
for
even
years
this
to come.
guy, yeah, but even that guy who messed it up from everybody, the FBI was going around doing plots on people. They was going to these poor Muslims. This is true. They was going to these people who converted to Islam, act like they Muslims, brainwashing these individuals, saying, I'm going to give you all this money to go blow up this. Most of the time, these Muslims who was doing that wasn't even praying in the mass shit. You know, the FBI was purposely plotting to give these guys bags of money to say, blow up a plane. Then they put it on the news, look, a Muslim terrorist. Some people said, man, we never even see this individual pray one time in a prayer. You know what I mean? So they
Might be right, man. They might be right. They did it to the Black Panthers. So what's to mean that they can't do it again? Yeah, man, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I interviewed both the Hughes brothers.
Yes.
And, you know, Alan Hughes in particular, he did the Dear Mama docuseries. Did you watch it at all?
No, I never watched it.
I watched it. I thought it was actually very well done from a film perspective.
Yes.
But, for example, Billy Garland, Tupac's dad, said that everyone who did the Dear Mama series had a personal beef with Tupac. And he personally didn't like it, even though he himself was involved in it.
I agree with him. I also thought that was strange that the Hughes brothers didn't like Pac, and now all of a sudden they want to do a documentary saying how much of a good person he is. You know what I mean? And I think even in one of the scenes...
It was just, well, let me just correct you. It's just Alan Hughes. It wasn't the Hughes brothers.
One
Alan
of them,
Hughes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they actually don't get along with each other is the interesting part. I had to interview, even though they're identical twins, I had to interview them separately.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. The industry would do that to you. I also agree with that. I never really, because I think I might have seen a trailer or a snippet when one of them was making it seem like, did he say Pac was bipolar? Like making it, you know, assuming to that or something like that? And that's when I was like, well, how can you do a documentary on him and you already have this biased view of him? So how do you really want to show, you know, I didn't understand that either. I'm not going to let a person who I got into a fight with, unless I squash the beef, do any documentary with me. They always held so many heart against Pac.
Well, one of the things that was mentioned in the documentary, and me and Edie spoke about this, and he essentially confirmed it, was when Pac was at Jasmine Guy's house, he had just been shot. He's about to go to trial for the whole rape charge thing and so forth. And I guess what they said was Pac took like a marker and wrote "fuck the world" on his forehead and had like a rifle. And it was basically saying that he's going to go kill himself.
Edie
you remember that at all?
No. Edie agreed to that?
Edie said, I forgot whether he said that actually happened or whether, I don't remember. I don't want to misquote him if he said it didn't happen. But what he said was, at that moment, if Pac had asked him to do that, he would have done it. Basically, he was saying how he wanted the outlaws to drive him to a forest and shoot him so he doesn't go to prison. And I guess what they said in the documentary was that he basically said, tell, what's the name of Tupac's stepdad?
Matulu.
Matulu, yeah. He basically said, tell Matulu they only got one of us.
Wow. If Edie said it, I'm sure that he probably, because I don't remember everything. I wasn't in the room with every conversation, but Edie definitely, you know, he usually be on point with her. That's wow. That's, you know, it's sad. You know what I mean? The good thing it didn't happen.
Well, yeah. In the docuseries, they basically said that Afeni talked him out.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, did you feel at that time that Pac was just overwhelmed and was possibly ready to just end it all?
I didn't recall from him wanting to end it all, you know. But he definitely, I did see that he felt like the world was on his shoulders. You know, I saw him whip out the gun and point it at his homeboy, like, you know what I mean. And
wait, hold on, what happened?
He at the Jasmine Guy house, like he was we was in the living room, and you know, he got into a little, you know, back and forth, and I don't think it was serious, but I guess he said something Pac ain't lying. Pac put the gun out on him, and I guess you could tell that he had a lot on his, you know, plate that particular time. So, but I didn't see anything from him that he want to give up his life, because I always seen that strong side of Pac. You know, I always seen that side of him, like a warrior side, you know, but you know, you humans, you have your weak moments as well. We human, you know?
Yeah, because Pac was always saying that as much as he felt he did for black people and really stood up for black people, you know, affiliated with the Black Panthers, what his mother did, shot 2 white cops in Atlanta to protect a black kid, that he felt that the last people in the world that would harm him is other black people.
Yeah, he did feel that way.
only to have a black man shoot him
He did
at
feel
Quad
that way.
Studios, have a black woman accuse him of rape,
Facts.
that ultimately sent him to prison. And I think that he was just, it seemed like he had a hard time getting his head around this. Like, I did all this for my group of people only for them to be my worst enemies, essentially.
Pac, because he always was optimistic of his people. You understand? And I think it really hurt him because, Pac felt like his music was trying to uplift, the black community. It did hurt him. He said that, you know what I mean? That he would have never thought that he would be shot by a black person because he thought his music was for black people, his songs was for black women. So it pained him. It definitely was something that it hurt him for sure.
Well, you said that one of Pac's security, Kevin Hackey, he was actually an informant?
Yeah, I heard that, but I think Reggie clarified it. He was like a paid, like Reggie said, he was like a paid informant. That's crazy because these type of, that's why I said I would not be surprised if they plant people in the music industry because this individual was around us every day. Like he was around every day. I thought that he was like something deeper than that, but that's when Reggie said no, he was a informant.
So he was an actual informant working for security for Tupac.
And he was saying a lot of crazy activities. That's what blew my mind, where you never know, He might have mentioned, he mentioned himself. There's a documentary where I think he tried to say he was an undercover on one of the boroughs, but Reggie was like, nah, he was informed. He wasn't really on a team like that, but he mentioned this stuff. Because I remember the first time I ever seen him, I said, bruh, that's Hackey. Like this.
Like I said, I interviewed Billy Garland.
Yeah.
And when Pac was born, on the birth certificate, where it says father, it says deceased. Right? So when Pac died, on his death certificate, where it says father, it also says deceased.
Mm.
And Billy Garland ultimately ended up suing the Tupac estate.
Mm.
Did you hear about this when it was happening?
I heard about it. It was some tension or some lawsuits. Yes, I did hear about it back in the day.
Yeah. Afeni referred to Billy as a sperm donor at one point. And he sued, and I think he lost because, he did prove that he was his father, but they couldn't prove that he was part of Pac's life.
Mm.
So then they appealed, and I guess the appeal had just tied up a whole bunch of money. So they ended up settling with him for $1 million.
Mm.
But ultimately that was his father. And, he felt like he had to prove a point to say, listen, like they're trying to write me out of this person's life when he really was my son. And, I don't know, you've never been around Billy, have you?
Yeah, I've been around him a couple of times. And
no, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, afterwards. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He
My
looked
bad.
just like Pac, though. I ain't gonna lie. Oh, Pac
and that's what I'm saying. Like when you see Billy Garland, you're like, all right, there's no DNA test that's necessary here.
Pac
This is
looked just
obviously
like
Pac's dad. Like,
Yeah.
In fact, Pac looks way more like Billy than he does Afeni.
He looked like his pops a lot. Like when you see that, you like that's his, But man,
Have you ever seen the picture of Tupac and Tupac's grandmother side by side?
They look like
Billy's mother.
They look like twins, actually. Like Pac looked just like his grandmother. That was
same
crazy.
Same nose, same smile.
Yeah,
and so forth.
I think that's his father.
Yeah.
That's his father, you know what I mean? And it is what it is,
Do you know how Tupac's grandmother died?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it, but I did read about it. Sad, also sad.
It's sad. It says something about, abortion rights in America.
Yeah, it's sad.
That when you take away abortion rights, you see situations like this where people die trying to get an abortion. Is abortion legal in Saudi Arabia?
I'm not sure. Maybe under certain circumstances in Islam, abortion is legal under certain, situations. But here in Saudi Arabia, you don't really hear people saying they want an abortion. it's a society. That's why a lot of Americans, when they come, they shocked because there's no boyfriends and girlfriends here. People marry, have families.
Yeah.
So it's old school mentality. You know what I mean? But under certain situations, abortions are allowed in Islam. You know?
Is divorce allowed?
Of course, yes.
Okay. I think maybe a marriage might be more common in places like Saudi Arabia and Dubai and so forth, because I'm sure divorces are a lot easier in Saudi than they are in America. No?
In which way?
I mean, listen, you hear divorces that take 5 years. Like, for example, Vanilla Ice, who I interviewed recently, his divorce took 5 years and like $2 million
that's
to finalize.
That's because divorce is a business in America. That's
Right.
the reason why. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, is premarital sex legal in Saudi?
In Islam, it's not allowed. And
Okay.
and the reason why, because Islam come to preserve the lineage and the honor. Family lineage is very important in Islam. So when people sleep around with each other, you don't know who your father. Look at the situation they saying they're going through with Tupac father, what he went through. So Islam came to honor lineage and to have people marry and to benefit, to know who the parents are. So, and Islam is not allowed. The same way a Muslim in America is not allowed to do sex before marriage, the same way a Muslim in Saudi Arabia. It's not really about the country, it's about who follow that religion and beliefs.
Well, it's a little different because if you have premarital sex in America, nothing happens to you. Whereas in Islam, it's technically a crime, isn't it?
It is a crime. But a lot of people don't know that Islam makes it so difficult for a person because the honor of a woman and a man is very important. In Islam, the way you can be punished for premarital sex is that you have to have 4 witnesses from 4 different angles watch the man enter the woman. So Islam make it so difficult for a person to go and say this person committed, we call it fornication, zina, fornication, Islam, because even then it stopped you from saying that person did this, that person did that. Even in that situation, it protects the honor of a person's reputation. So you barely would hear a person in Saudi Arabia getting in trouble for premarital sex because where's going to be the 4 witnesses that watch them have sex? You know?
Yeah. I feel you. I mean, and it's interesting because being in the Middle East, and I've been to, at this point, where have I been? I've been to Israel, Egypt, Bahrain, UAE, aka Dubai, and Jordan. So that's five countries I've been to in the Middle East. And more Americans should realize that when you go to these places, your American laws don't apply. Right? So, for example, there was a big story that happened, I think, about a year ago, where like this American woman went to Dubai. She got into an argument with a guy at a rental car station.
I heard about that, yeah.
And I guess in Dubai, you're not allowed to insult another person publicly.
True.
Right? I don't know if it's specifically a woman insulting a man or just in general, you're not allowed to get loud and insult people.
Vice versa.
For everyone, right? Because I remember in Dubai, it was like, I was there, with my lady, and like, you didn't hear any cat calls. You didn't hear any, like, people are respectful. Even late at night, her walking by herself, like, super safe.
Yes.
But like, for example, like this woman went to jail, and like all these Americans are in outrage, like, oh, well, people from Dubai can come over here and get loud. And it's like, different country.
Different country. That's the problem with America is we think that wherever we go, we rule and run, we do things our way. But even that situation, I looked into that situation. I read some of the comments like, girl, you the same woman who went to Jamaica and got into an argument with the lady in Airbnb. Whoever this woman is, she seemed like she was known to run around with that sassy attitude. You know how some Americans can be like that sometimes. You know what I mean? And she started probably threatening the wrong person, and he called the cops, and she got locked up because she got into an accident. She didn't tell that part. She got into a car accident, and she didn't want to pay the money. And I guess she didn't have insurance. So when she started screaming on the guy, she left that part out.
Look, man, you go somewhere else, you find out what the laws are. These are not democracies. You can say fuck Trump, you can say fuck Biden all day long. Go to Saudi Arabia and start talking about the royal family. See how long that lasts for you.
Yeah, like you said, you got to respect different places, man. Different cultures, different countries. You got to respect that, bro.
So Were you given a citizenship when you went to Saudi Arabia?
Nah, I hope I get the citizenship. I would love to.
You still don't have a citizenship there.
Saudi is one of the countries very hard. Most Arab countries, it's very difficult to get a citizenship for foreigners or people from outside. Because here it's a country of tribalism. The people who already been here, originally people from this land. Saudi Arabia is a welfare country, meaning that people might want to get the citizenship just for different reasons. They give you free healthcare, free education, interest-free loans to buy a house. They help their people so much. So somebody might I just want to get this just to take advantage. So they're very selective of who they give it to. Now, I do know some people that got the citizenship. You know what I mean? They give it to certain people from time to time. You know, I know some professors at universities, people that they feel like can bring some real positive impact to their country. But I do want that citizenship, though.
Okay, but you have multiple businesses in Saudi and still don't have a citizenship?
Yes, just like majority of the foreigners who have multiple businesses here, they don't have a citizenship. I have a foreign investment license. So for a foreigner to do business in Saudi Arabia, you must get a foreign investment license. Now they're making it easier where they have it's called a premium visa where you can get a lifetime visa. You pay a certain amount, you get a lifetime visa. So they start to make it easy, man.
Okay, well, I didn't know you weren't a citizen. I just assumed because are you married to a Saudi woman?
No, I'm not. Even if I was, I wouldn't have got the citizenship.
Oh, so it's not like America where you could marry an American and suddenly you're a citizen. Nah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Wow, I never knew that. So all these foreigners who move to Saudi Arabia, they essentially have visas.
Yeah.
And they could potentially expire at one point.
Yeah, they renew it. For example, if most of the foreigners that come, they work. So they have a contract with their job. They might say we have a 3-year contract, 5-year contract. If it expired, they can renew it if they want. Myself, I have a foreign investment visa license. So because I have a company, me and my partners, my Iqama and residency is under my license, you know. And it's becoming more and more easy at times. You got to also realize Saudi Arabia is the land of the 2 holiest mosques. And it's a very strategic place and love place for the Muslim world. So they can't just give passports to anybody. They can't just, and it's a very safe society. You know, so Saudi Arabia is very careful who they bring to their country, who they give a visa to. Like the way they doing things is very strategic, you know, and I respect that.
Well, women were just recently allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, right?
I believe like 10 years now, if I'm not mistaken. 2017? 2017, yes.
7 years ago. But from what I understand, right, because people like to frame things a certain type of way, is that women weren't allowed to drive before, but they were given free like Uber passes whenever they needed it.
There was some situations where the government was paying a woman to go to work Uber. I remember that time when I was living in Saudi when they was doing it. A lot of people got to understand it was a cultural thing. Saudi Arabia people, for example, when it comes to the woman and their family, they're very hands-on. Meaning that they feel like if I'm a man, I have to take care of my daughter, my wife. I'm going to drive around. So it became a cultural thing where they made sure the woman here was treated like princesses before they was driving. If the father couldn't do it, they have a chauffeur, man, driving. Like majority of the women was sitting in the back, their own driver. So they was really hands-on with the woman folks. You know what I mean? To the point, like in America, you will see like the man and the woman grabbing the groceries in the house. Saudi Arabia, a man making his wife grab the groceries in the house, they'll be looking at you as embarrassment. Like, man, the woman should be having her feet up. You should be doing that. So it's a cultural thing where they have a lot of protective hands-on when it comes to their women folks, that they want to be there for them. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like they was neglectful because they wasn't driving. It wasn't like their rights was neglected. They still was living nice lives, mashallah. I seen it. You know, I seen it myself.
Final question, and this is from one of my Vlad TV YouTube members, New Jack City 88. What is your all-time favorite Tupac song?
Man, dang. See, I had to really, because Pac lyrics is deep. You know what I mean? Like, the lyrics of Only God Could Judge Me was serious. I like that. One of my favorites, yes.
Only God Could Judge Me.
Yes.
Okay. I could see that.
Because them words he was spitting, it it was very positive too. It wasn't even like people were like, "What?" It was, man. It hit a spot. You know what I mean?
What about the one Kendrick just did?
Huh?
The one Kendrick remade.
Made in IGGA?
Yeah.
I want to say that's one of my favorites. Yeah. the maybe one of my favorite lyrics I think I ever done.
Well, I'm just going to mention this since at this point it's actually over and I can speak about it.
Yes.
But Tupac's stepbrother, Mopreme Shakur, who I interviewed on my platform, and then, you know, he brought Thug Life as well. Big Psych did his last interview on my platform. Me and him kept in touch. I remember I congratulated him when his dad came home and so forth. He actually sued me for a photo, which I had to cough up a certain amount of money for and also spend a whole bunch of legal bills over. It was actually the photo of Tupac getting beat up, you know, that Mopreme took.
By the
You know what
police?
I'm talking about? Yeah, by the police, exactly. And in my interview, we talk about him taking the photo. We talk about the photo, so I show the photo only to be sued by Mopreme years later over that same photo.
So he
Which,
took the
honestly,
photos online though, right?
photos everywhere. I just thought it was super lame. And especially someone who I had what I thought was a respectful relationship with. I couldn't get a hold of them. I wanted to have a conversation with them about it. They refused. I even said, hey, I'll pay you and you do an interview and we'll just kind of work it out that way. They refused. So I think when the dust settled, I probably spent around $25,000 between paying him and paying my lawyers. I ended up paying my lawyers more than I paid him. And I just thought it was lame. Just
Wow. Well, I never heard anything about that.
I mean, it was ongoing.
Did he not want you to show the picture? Like he said not to show it?
No, he had no problem showing the picture, but ultimately, whether it was him or I'd heard it was possibly his wife, I'm not sure, but it just turned into a money grab. Okay, they used the picture, we're going to try and get some money out of Vlad TV. And that's what ultimately...
somebody else, because the Mopreme I know, bro, he not that type of person. Like Mopreme, it could have been some managers or something, because I know Mo, and I'm not just saying that because he like family. Mopreme is not, that's not his stilo. It might have been somebody, a manager, somebody got into his ear, bro.
My money ultimately went to Mopreme as him being the owner of that photo. So whoever else tried to get in the middle of it or whatever, Mopreme had the ability to stop it at some point, and he did not. And I had to cough up a whole bunch of money, way more money than I made off his interviews, over this stupid photo. And I just think it's lame, and it's just disappointing that people reach a point in their lives where they just start to try to grab money from whoever, even people who ultimately helped them, respected them, had a good relationship with them. But if there's a couple dollars to be made, this is what happens sometimes. And I just think it's
a sad
super lame.
I think it's a sad situation. Mopreme is, I like you as an individual. Mopreme is my family too. I just think, me knowing him, I think somebody got in his ear. To you, it doesn't matter. You paid the money to him, but knowing Mopreme, somebody probably got into his ear, bro. Because he not that type. But I get you.
Yeah.
Here go a picture of me. Show it. You want one of my pictures?
Nah. I might get sued.
I don't get down like that. I don't get down.
I might get sued again.
I'm joking with you. I'm not trying to sue nobody, man.
I know, man. And honestly, it's like, look, we protect our property, we protect our video and everything else like that. But anyone who we're cool with, you know what I'm saying? Like if Mopreme wanted to use part of his interview for some project he was doing, go ahead. I don't want nothing for it. Tell me where I need to sign for a release form. I got you.
Yeah.
Same thing with you. Same thing with anyone who comes on my platform. If you want to use some shit we did for your own thing, because you came on my platform and I happen to record it, go ahead. I've never charged anyone to use my own stuff for something that they're doing themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I was disappointed. It really just gave me just a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Me and him actually kept communications the whole time up until this happened.
That's why I said Mopreme is, trust me, he a good dude. I know it, man. Somebody might have gotten his ear like this is a quick money grab, because Mopreme is, that's not even his style, what I'm trying to tell you. But nowadays, you got so many people in other people's ear looking for quick money,
Yeah, I mean, look, the Tupac estate turned into somewhat of a hornet's nest over time. Like when Afeni died, she left it to Tom Wally to run the estate.
I heard.
And this was, and I talked to people around the situation. This was something that Afeni really wanted. Tom Wally was already rich. He didn't even want to do it, but Afeni personally asked him to do it.
Yes.
And now that he's running the estate, and I don't think he's really profiting some huge amount for it because he doesn't own it, he just runs it. Now you have Afeni's daughter is suing Tom Wally, over what he's doing with the estate. And from what I understand, the way the estate is even set up, Afeni literally put in the paperwork that anyone who tries to challenge the rules of the estate will be kicked out of the estate. So now you have Tupac's sister, who has been supported her whole life by Tupac and the estate, potentially could get kicked off the estate for trying to get more money out of the estate.
This family business, bro. And, sometimes
it's
never
crazy.
Understand family business. Like
we never will. We never
family
will.
business.
And from what I heard, like some of the outlaws sort of signed over the rights to their music back to the estate, and there was some gray areas about that. You got Mopreme that are suing people like me over a photo.
Man.
It's just
bro,
it's just
the
sad.
music industry is crazy in general.
Yeah.
The entertainment industry, like nothing surprised me these days, so it's a crazy industry, bro.
It is. And there's a lot of money, there's a lot of fame, there's a lot of women, there's a lot of accolades. I mean, look, I'm going through some personal things right now, and I know that when I walk outside, whether I'm in New York, LA, Miami, Atlanta, there'll always be someone that walks up to me and says, "Hey man, I love what you do. I'm a big fan. Let me take a photo. This is my son. Can we take a photo together?" And that makes my day. Like, that makes my day a little nicer.
Yeah.
And so you do like that, people get into it because they like that positive feedback, and they like that they're affecting people's lives in a positive manner. But with that comes all the ugliness and all the backstabbing and everything else like that. And I've never personally subscribed to that. Like I said, like if you told me, you said, "Hey, listen, I'm coming out with a documentary. I need, 40 minutes from our past interviews to incorporate it."
No, you did that to me before. I said I want to do an interview with you and I want to put it out. You said,
"Yeah, exactly." I said, "Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you want me to sign. I don't want no money out of it. Nothing. Let's just do it." And I've always been that way. I always felt like, listen, you should protect your stuff against other entities. But if you're working with people who you work with, you guys need to really be kind to each other.
Yeah.
And
I get you. Everything you said is accurate, makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean the lawsuit's a real thing. I got the paperwork. So if Mopreme tries to respond and say that I'm lying or whatever else, I could post up the paperwork, my lawyer bills, the settlements, the check I wrote, the whole lot.
Man, sorry that you went through that. You know what I mean?
It's all right, man. I mean, it wasn't an amount of money that's gonna really affect me, but it was more of a disappointment than anything else. Because, like I said, Big Syke's last interview was on my platform.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, wow.
Mopreme has been on my platform multiple times, and we've never had a harsh word to each other.
That's what I said. Mopreme is a good dude. I know to you being sued, you ain't gonna probably believe me, but I believe somebody else got in his ear because Mopreme he never been shicey. I'm just speaking from the Mopreme I know. Never been a shicey dude. Never been cutthroat. It got to be somebody that got into his ear and said, you can probably sue because of that, and unfortunate situation, bro.
Well, go ahead and put out a project and use that photo and see what happens.
I ain't never doing it.
You'll see. In fact, when that happened to me, I hit up some of my media contemporaries, that interviewed him and may have used that photo, and I told all of them, "Hey, y'all should blur that photo out, or if you guys are using it, you should take it down because he'll probably go after you same way he went after me." And they went and took it down quickly to make sure it didn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So yeah, it is what it is. So, Napoleon, man, always a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Always a
Glad
pleasure,
you're doing
bro.
well. You look healthy.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro.
You look
Appreciate
happy.
it. Appreciate it,
Yeah.
man. Thank you. Same to you, man. Appreciate it, bro.
Absolutely, man. Until next time.
Next time. Peace.